slavery to end, and their pops wanted it to continue. And you could probably argue that these might represent some of the earliest examples of biz songs. On both sides of the Civil War actually playing music that would hype up their troops and boost morale to prepare them for battle. After the Civil War, as time would go on, Louisiana creatives would continue to experiment with music. Blues music is believed to have originated in the Deep South in the late 1800s and early 1900s. The African American communities in New Orleans are credited with pioneering jazz music in the early 1910s, and in the 1950s, more new musical genres emerged like swamp pop, where young Cajuns and Creoles would combine traditional French Louisiana music with New Orleans-style rhythm and blues and country and western music, as well as the more low-tempo swamp blues originating in the black communities of southwest Louisiana. Into the 50s and 60s, the civil rights movement would further impact Louisiana's music scene, as African-American musicians leveraged their talents to amplify the call for racial equality, often using their platforms to shed light on the struggles that they would face. R&B and soul music, with their origins in gospel and blues, would become vehicles for expressing the aspirations of the African American community. And then, of course, as hip-hop emerged in the 80s and boomed through the 90s, a whole wave of aspirational southern rappers would emerge from Louisiana's biggest cities. In New Orleans, modern rap was pioneered by Master P and his No Limit clip, later being taken to brave new heights in hip-hop's Bling era by the likes of Cash Money Records, headed by Birdman and his prodigy Lil Wayne, who would arguably go on to become one of the greatest rappers of all time and my personal favorite. And while the flashy antics of Bling rappers might come across to some as tasteless, others would be inspired by these emerging black role models who were showing the world through artistry that a persecuted black man in the Deep South could become a multi-millionaire and build generational wealth off the back of sharing their lived experience through music. Now, things still aren't perfect, but the success of rap music in the Deep South represents a triumph over oppression to me. And I'm telling you all of this because all of this history is very important context. Because the social circumstances that persisted in Louisiana over hundreds of years all led up to a single moment in time, where the perfect circumstances existed to create one of the modern day's most exciting and controversial music artists. People in Louisiana have been using their music to express their pain and tell their perspective on life for hundreds of years. And in the modern day Louisiana, one voice stands out above all others. The voice of a young boy who experienced one of the harshest upbringings modern day Louisiana had to offer. And that young boy was able to put all of his pain, trauma, and triumphs into his music. Modern day music that is still unmistakably Southern. So, now you know the city, let's take a closer look at that young boy, Young Boy.
What if West Side Chris was talking to the family?
I don't know.
I've learned my lesson.
Can be a young boy.
No longer a danger to society. Okay, look, never get a second chance.
Youngboy was born Kentrell Deshaun Gordon in 1999.
Kentrell.
And over the years, he's been known by many names. NBA Youngboy, Youngboy Never Broke Again, Pop, YB, AI Youngboy, and the list goes on. Now, Youngboy by no means had it easy as a kid. He grew up on the north side of Baton Rouge, more specifically North 38th Street and Chippewa Street. This led to another nickname that appears frequently in Youngboy's songs and albums, 38 Baby. In fact, Youngboy's legendary lyrics about 38 and Chippewa where he grew up have even attracted superfans who would film themselves driving down the very streets that Youngboy would play on as a child. But life on 38th Street was much harder.
Oh yeah, I forgot I still got these.
His father, Edward Davis, wasn't in his life growing up. He had apparently been sentenced to 55 years in jail when Youngboy was just 8 years old. This monster sentence was punishment for the armed robbery of a Baton Rouge convenience store on December the 1st, 2009. Youngboy's father, along with 3 other men, one of whom was his brother Dallas, had apparently robbed Aldi's convenience store on North Sherwood Forest. The robbery got ugly, and Youngboy's father shot a store clerk in the leg during this altercation. This would earn him charges for armed robbery and attempted first-degree murder. He would plead not guilty, and after a jury trial, the state would find him guilty as charged on 2 counts, getting himself 10 years for the robbery and 50 years for the attempted murder. Many years later, Youngboy would even reference his father's incarceration, rapping on the song Cross Me that it was actually his uncle, his father's brother, that was there for the robbery, who snitched and got him 55 years in jail.
Damn.
As well as referencing his father's plight,
You know that long.
Where the Love Act, where he raps that he prays he doesn't become an alcoholic like his father, as well as paying respect and suggesting that his father needs a second chance at life because robbing people for their money is how he was trying to provide for his family. It seemed like both sides of Youngboy's family had a history of robbery, as his mother's side was also an alleged known robber in Baton Rouge.
Damn.
However, unfortunately, he would suffer a worse fate than Youngboy's father. Andy Gorgon, uncle who Youngboy referenced a couple of times in his music.
Man, Trap Lord finds all this shit.
Robbery attempt. Youngboy mentions on the track Acquittal how he heard stories about how his uncle was shot in the head, implying that their relationship was most likely non-existent if Youngboy had to rely on stories to hear all about his life. As well as on the track R.I.P. Lil Dave, when Youngboy speaks of his uncle who got shot in the head and died while hitting a lick. Further references to this are heard on the track 38 Baby, when Youngboy outright declares that Andy Gordon was his uncle, which means that robbery is in his genes. I mean, just take a second to think about the situation that Youngboy was dealing with here as a child. His father is serving 55 years for robbery, with one uncle who snitched on him, and his other uncle was also a prolific robber who got shot in the head and killed during a robbery. All this would leave him as a lost child with no father figure, who even saw robbery as part of his DNA. That's a heavy situation for an 8-year-old kid to be dealing with. And with no... After losing his grandmother, with his father in jail, and his mother out of the picture, Youngboy wound up in group home, and it would be here he would be subject to physical abuse and bullying. He would later explain in a Billboard interview that it was this experience of being targeted in the group home that led him to cultivate his own dark and violent side for protection. Clearly, Youngboy had to fight for survival as a child. In fact, he actually broke his neck whilst he was wrestling as a toddler. This was a serious injury which required him to wear a broad neck and head brace whilst his spine healed. This was a corrective procedure which left him with the 3 iconic head scars he has on his head to this day, an everyday reminder on his face of just one evil incident he endured as a child, and something his enemies are still quick to use against him, with the hurtful moniker Death Head often being leveled against him. Youngboy had gone through so many traumatic experiences as a child, it's unsurprising that he would grow up dealing with a lot of pain. But even outside of the tragedies in his own family, Youngboy would also suffer losses outside the home. When he was just age 10, he would end up losing one of his closest childhood friends to gun violence. As a child, Youngboy was friends with another boy who was around 6 years older.
Damn, David Cobb, Lil Dave.
AKA Lil Dave. On March 27, 2010, a memorial picnic was being held at Park and Woodpecker Street.
And that's after my birthday, y'all.
In Baton Rouge. This event was intended to honor the memory of local teens who had lost their lives to gun violence. But unfortunately, the very thing that this event was intending to shed a light on would end up happening that same day. Because at some point, a fight broke out and bullets started flying. One of those bullets hit 16-year-old David Cobb in the spine, and despite there being hundreds of witnesses, this case would ultimately go unsolved.
Damn.
People were fearing the community of retaliation against those who would be seen as a snitch for speaking to law enforcement. As a result, the family of Lil Dave would be left grieving without closure, heartbroken that their child lost his life in an event that was intended to honor teens losing their lives to gun violence. And it wasn't just Dave's family who were devastated by this loss. Youngboy himself would be
And young boy was fucked up behind that.
by losing a friend to gun violence.
He was 10.
He would go on to rap about the loss of Lil Dave and the effect that it had on him years later. Youngboy would rap in the song The Keeps with Rich the Kid that Dave was killed by a chopper or a machine gun and that he wishes he could call him. Also,
He was
on
10.
the aptly named song Homicide, Youngboy expresses his desire to get revenge and kill the person who took Dave's life. When Lil Dave was killed. In the song Better Man, Youngboy would claim to be tormented by the image of Lil Dave's murder in his mind. And on the track How I'm Living, he would vow to make people responsible, believe for what they did today. Later on the unreleased track Hold 13, that appeared only in a trailer for his hit album Pop, Youngboy would rap a lyric which some believe is him actually confessing that when he made his first $20,000, he spent it on a hitman to get revenge on Lil Dave's killer. With this traumatic and personal loss, combined with his family's reputation when it came to robberies, it's no surprise then that as a young teenager, Youngboy dropped out of school in the 9th grade and got heavily involved in the streets, becoming a teenage robber just like his father and uncle. Youngboy would later tell DJ Smalls Eyes in an interview that after his grandmother died, he started robbing himself and ultimately wound up in jail for a robbery at just age 14.
Look, he can hardly take like little still and taking from people. And like where it first, like, oh my God, I'm gonna take care of you. When I went back, So it catching my attention. Telling me the age. I got books for like age 14.
Ultimately, Youngboy found himself in a youth detention center for this
Damn.
but perhaps this would be a blessing in disguise. As while he was incarcerated, he
Damn.
was found his purpose in life, beginning to write music and using that as a way to express himself and cope with the pains of life, vowing to become an artist rather than a criminal.
So it was the best thing that happened. He helped me know my purpose. He helped me know what
Damn.
I was 25 something with people. It was dope. He helped me learn how to express myself.
This shit is 5 hours.
Was interested in music. Youngboy claimed to have written his own obscene rap lyrics in the 4th grade, and he had apparently been taken to the studio by his mother, who herself was also an aspiring rapper. And his father had even written to him from jail, telling him that he had been writing music during his 55-year sentence, and encouraging Youngboy to focus on music too. So, upon his release from jail for robbery, Youngboy would return to 38th Street with little more than just a dream of becoming a rapper, along with a lifetime of trauma. And before he could get anywhere with his rap career, he would at least need a stable environment to live in. Luckily, he ended up finding a new place in the neighborhood to call home, with Youngboy rapping on the song Live that he met his friend 33 riding his bike down Chippewa, and that 33's mother accepted him into their home like family. According to 33, him and Youngboy are essentially brothers, as the two grew up with the same mother, Monique. But Monique is really 33's biological mother, as we know that Youngboy is the biological son of Sharonda Gould. But due to the fact that 33's mother, Monique, helped raise Youngboy, he often refers to her as his mother as well, which would make 33 his adopted brother, and the two do seem to have a relationship that is stronger than most real brothers. And because of this, the two basically just say they're real brothers.
You said you knew him since you were 4? Because you guys are brothers and you were born around each other, so it's like you don't have any memories of not knowing them.
No, it's like you know how both our dad is split up, you know what I'm saying? So we got the same mom. It's like
I started making music and my brother just really inspired me to go in the booth because it really wouldn't have bothered me. It was really about Youngboy and I was pushing him. And one day he just told me, man, look, come do this with me. And he pushed me to go in the booth. And I just took it right and I said, that's where it started from. So, that's all I do.
Meanwhile, Youngboy's relationship with his own biological mother, Sharonda, was up and down during his childhood. Years down the line, he would open up about this on the song Lonely Child from his October 2019 project, AI Youngboy 2, when he says that even though he called 33's mother Monique his adopted mother, he still needs Sharonda in his life. Perhaps due to the lack of a real father figure growing up, meant that he had to rely on both of his mothers for emotional and mental support. But anyway, after getting out of juvenile and finding a new safe space to call home, Youngboy's new spiritual brother 33 would be supportive of his aspirations as a rapper. And together, this brotherly duo would get back to finessing on the streets to pay for studio time. Eventually, with Youngboy getting enough recording time in to produce a full-length musical project. And by April 10, 2015, Youngboy had released his first ever mixtape, Life Before Fame. This tape featured tracks like Homicide and Range Rover, which showed a 15-year-old Youngboy truly had the skills to pay the bills early on. The album begins with an intro where Youngboy mentions an affiliate of his named D-Dog catching a body. This sets the mood for the rest of the album, letting fans know straight away that Youngboy had ties with the streets, despite the fact that he was technically still a child at this point. And in the same song, he gives us an insight into his torturous relationships and the reason behind why he finds it so hard to remain faithful to his partners, even at age 15. In the song I Know, Youngboy begins to paint a menacing picture of his position in the local gang hierarchy, mentioning on 2 occasions how he can rely on another known NBA affiliate by the name of Lil Pap to go get him. A brash statement which shows that even at age 15, Youngboy was really in the streets, with people around him that he could send to do dirty work. Youngboy would also share his experience with Get Back and Vengeance in this project. On the track Deal With It, he talks about how revenge was exacted on the person who killed his uncle, saying that they spotted the person who killed his uncle and that Youngboy witnessed somebody put that person in a casket, and going on to say that the deceased man's brother is now after him. This is an important lyric, as it shows that even back when he was just 15 years old, people were dying around Youngboy, being killed, and he was becoming a target himself, despite not being directly responsible for the violence that had played out. Elsewhere on this song, Youngboy pledges his allegiance to a group called TBG, or Top Boy Gorilla. This is the first crew or record label that Youngboy aligned himself with when he became a rapper. Though unfortunately, as is often the case in the streets,
Damn,
over time,
they put
as Youngboy's
TBG in
star
here.
rose,
Shout out to
tension
Fredo
grew
Bang.
members of TBG arguing over who the next big rapper from the group would be. And eventually, what begun as a partnership would devolve into a deadly beef, with members of TBG picking their sides and the feud escalating into an
Where you
all-out
going
gang war, with people being murdered on both sides and years of heartbreak playing out on the streets and in the music.
I love everything that the Ark stands
Where you going
for.
at?
I love how they not only care about the people that we support, they also care about the staff. They're going to make sure that you have all the tools that you need to support your person.
When Youngboy left juvenile detention, inspired to become a rapper rather than a robber, it
TBG
wouldn't take long
versus
for others to see
BBG.
the potential that this teenage rap prodigy had. From here, a group of people from his neighborhood with ties to the music industry as well as the streets will begin to take him under their wing. Youngboy's first mixtape, Life Before Fame, was actually released under the banner of TBG, with Youngboy and 33 being seen in throwback pictures rocking TBG merch. TBG stands for Top Boy Gorilla, a crew with a storied history in the wild and dangerous streets of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. TBG was supposedly started by deceased Louisiana native and affiliate of rap veteran Boosie, Little Ivy Smith. He would turn out to be the uncle of future
Lil Yoshi.
TBG rap prospect Lil Yoshi. More on him later. Now, Lil Ivy was sadly killed in an unsolved triple homicide back in 2005. However, at this early stage in the game, Youngboy was nothing more than a promising young prospect to the
Yep.
Baton Rouge rap OGs. The older members of TBG were looking to find the next up-and-coming rap rookie who could potentially be the next homegrown
Make sure
rap
y'all
star
share my
of
shit.
Baton Rouge. And at the time, the real crown
Been
jewels
here
of the
for 5
TBG
hours.
squad were a couple of rappers known as G Money and Fredo Bang, who around the time were picking up steam with their song iPhone 6 alongside Boulevard Mel and White
Make
and
sure it.
You can tell that Youngboy was truly close with the TBG crew at this point because Youngboy even appeared in the background of the iPhone 6 music video, at one point handing a Gucci bag to Fredo Bang, a moment that would honestly be inconceivable in what would later become a deadly and bitter beef. As the story goes, the TBG crew had ties to Baton Rouge's criminal underworld, and rappers and affiliates of the TBG crew were still involved in the local drug trade. Unfortunately, soon some of this street beef would end up souring things on the music side, because the TBG crew supposedly had a beef going with another Baton Rouge crew called BBG, or Bottom Boy Gorillas. Gang, crew, clique, record label, call them whatever you want, but BBG and TBG were bitter enemies, with a big rumor at one point going around that Youngboy's cousin Boozilla, who was affiliated with BBG, ended up in a bitter disagreement with G Money and TBG. Now, there's been intense speculation over
Damn.
the years as to what was the exact cause of this beef. Some have suggested that Boozilla ran off with money or drugs from G Money, whilst others suggest that the whole drama was actually over a woman. Another explanation even suggests that it was actually Youngboy himself who stole money from G Money, but actually blamed the finesse on his cousin Boozilla, as Boozilla was seen on Twitter disavowing his own family at one point, and G Money seemingly indicating that this rumor was true on his diss track Industry, where he claimed that Youngboy had him looking for Boozilla with a gun, and saying that Boozilla actually wanted to kill Youngboy over this whole situation. There's even an old clip circulating that showed Boozilla and BBG affiliate Baby Joe seemingly posted up with guns looking for Youngboy and saying F NBA. This was unusual because previously Boozilla had claimed to be a member of the group NBA and even at one point referred to himself as NBA Boosie. Now, I'll explain to you what NBA means in a minute, but just bear with me. Because meanwhile, as that personal beef was developing, another more professional beef was emerging between Youngboy and the TBG crew. According to some, at a certain point Youngboy got frustrated with the TBG label. This was likely due to the fact that he wasn't necessarily getting the money or shine that he thought he deserved from the crew, with their main focus being on building the careers of G Money and Fredo Bang, rather than investing in Youngboy. So at some point, Youngboy and 33 would leave TBG and start their own crew. Initially, 33 and Youngboy wanted a group based on Youngboy's initials, Kentrell Golden, or KG. Since KG also means kilograms, the initial idea was to call their crew Weight Gang, another reference to the drug gang.
At first his name was like KG, but then we got like that's where the weight gang come from. But it
What
was
did
like,
KG stand for?
like his initials.
Okay.
That's his name.
Right.
Weight gain was one of the first things he had came up with.
But clearly that name wasn't really hitting the spot. So later on, a few of the members of this crew were just chilling, sitting on their porch, when Youngboy apparently vowed that he was not trying to go broke no more, to which other members of the crew agreed the same thing, with this pledge giving the crew inspiration to name themselves Never Broke Again, or NBA.
Like when we was on the porch one day, it was like, we ain't trying to go broke no more, and then he was like, I ain't trying to go broke neither, so we never broke again. Like, you know what I'm saying? From day one, that's where NBA started from. Like,
so the NBA crew was born, naturally taking some inspiration from the National Basketball Association. They would even make their logo the Jumpman, the iconic logo affiliated with basketball legend Michael Jordan dunking a basketball. But for Never Broke Again, their version would be a man jumping up in the air holding a pistol. Youngboy's NBA crew wanted to go from pistol-toting stick-up kids to music industry heavy hitters being paid as much as professional basketball players. Now, whether or not you like the name, there was no denying that the meaning behind it was powerful. And together, the Never Broke Again crew rallied around Youngboy, vowing to do whatever it took to take him to the top and make sure that they as a group never go broke again. So before we dive any deeper into the goings-on of the Never Broke Again crew, let's just take a quick look at some of the main members of that collective so that you can follow everything that's about to go down in this long and complicated story.
Since we started looking for a better cashback credit card.
Options have been coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
At NerdWallet, we can help you make the smartest decision by comparing top cards.
Ooh, cashback on dining out.
Great, because our typical
NerdWallet, the smartest decision for all your financial decisions.
Youngboy is of course the face of Never Broke Again, the NBA collective. He is the label's leading rapper. And this crew's bet on getting behind Youngboy's career would ultimately end up paying off handsomely. And with his crew's support, he would go on to become one of the biggest artists in the entire world. Then there's OG33, NBA's co-founder, who started the group along with Youngboy and Montana.
I started in it, like Youngboy just was really like the main one who was rapping. Like I don't really take rapping serious because like Youngboy really made me rap.
After 33's mother took Youngboy in as one of her own, they would build a bond as strong as blood brothers.
We got the same mom, like that.
OG33 is one of 10 children, 5 kids from his mother's side, 5 from his father's side. But he's the oldest of all of them, which has led to him having a mature outlook and a real head on his shoulders, as he's almost had to act like a father figure for Youngboy and his other siblings.
There's 10 kids altogether, right?
Yeah.
5 for your mom,
Yeah,
5 for your dad.
Yeah. On both sides, I'm close with all my brothers and sisters because I'm the oldest. So it's just like
So you're almost like a father figure in a way.
Yeah.
Is that a lot of responsibility?
Yeah, for sure. But you know, that's just my role. So it's just I took on my role.
When Youngboy didn't really want to rap at first, it was 33 that pushed him
thanks for
to
the
make
like.
sure that he stuck with it, dedicating his life
Thanks
to
for the
elevating
like.
Youngboy's
Make
career,
sure you share
keeping
it.
him on the right path.
I always was the one that always
Make sure
pushed
you
him,
share
like,
this.
Cause he didn't really want to rap at first. But
It's
then,
5
like,
hours though,
once I
yo.
really found out like he was gonna be that, like I pushed him even more harder. Like I was getting I went back to like record company was doing, like I was getting 1,000 CDs printed up. Like man, I didn't got them 1,000 CDs and really passed them out. Like this the man of minutes, like it's that.
It's 3 who pulls the strings and make the moves behind the scenes, keeping the ship sailing smoothly and ensuring that the NBA collective runs efficiently and profitably. He apparently would manage the business side of things, sometimes writing contracts or putting shows together.
I was more on like the business and management, like writing contracts and putting shows together for him. Like when we first started off, I was doing really everything,
And Youngboy apparently even inspired OG3 to start making his own music, because before, 3 was just mainly focused on pushing Youngboy's career.
If it wasn't for me walking into the booth, I wouldn't even be in the music because I was just mainly pushing him. It wasn't even about me.
Now, 33 does enjoy rapping, but he's also a self-proclaimed CEO, and business is apparently where his passion lies.
My main focus is it wouldn't be a career. I wouldn't choose rap as a career because I am a CEO and I love my position.
But 3 has also gained a cult following of his own from being the head honcho of the NBA crew. And considering the dark reputation that has followed Youngboy over the many deadly years of his career, this has led to many internet fanboys speculating on whether OG3 is the true mastermind behind the violence playing out in Baton Rouge. With many Reddit posts circulating, constantly speculating on how many deaths that 33 might be responsible for, even sometimes referring to him as the Grim Threeper. But it's unclear if that is just straight trolling, because in reality, OG3 has always tried to look out and take care of Youngboy and keep him on the straight and narrow, acting as the voice of reason in his life.
And that's my baby
Almost
brother.
went
I
to sleep,
always look out for him. I always take care of him. But like I don't ever expect him to do nothing bad. But he don't do it intentionally. It might be on accident. But I always talk to him and enforce that like we shouldn't be doing a lot of things. And you know he listens. So it's like I always was that type of person. I always was that.
Kind of like the voice of reason for when he gets a little hot-headed. You're like, so help calm him down. 'Cause he's probably listening to you, and he ain't trying to listen to a lot of random people.
Yeah, he ain't gonna listen to nobody. If it ain't me.
Then you've got Montana. According to a Billboard article profiling Youngboy, Kyle Montana Clybourne found Youngboy's music early on YouTube, and in the absence of a father figure or any real older male role model in his family, it seems like Montana assumed a kind of father figure role for Youngboy in the early stages of his life and career, giving him guidance on how to survive the gritty streets of North Baton Rouge. In fact, in the song Lonely Child from his October 2019 project AI Youngboy 2, Youngboy admits that he has been missing his father, and as a result, he actually calls Montana his father. Montana would help co-found the Never Broke Again label along with Youngboy and 3-3, with interviews explaining that in the early days of NBA, Youngboy would be sleeping on an air mattress at Montana's house, at a time when Montana played the role of manager, booking agent, and financier, dragging Youngboy all around the South to perform for between $500 and $1,500 a show to build his fan base in the early days. However, there's always been confusion over exactly who Youngboy's manager specifically is, and to be fair, it has changed over the years. For a period of time, Youngboy's manager was a man by the name of Big Dump, sometimes referred to as Youngboy's manager or agent. It was Dump who was there for Youngboy during the most turbulent years of his come up, but Dump would ultimately end up losing his life in 2018, seemingly as a direct result of the deadly street beef between these two warring Baton Rouge gang sets. But we'll go much deeper into that situation later on in the story. Another person who played a significant role on the management side is someone called Fee Banks, a Louisiana industry legend who had apparently helped Lil Wayne start Young Money and previously managed Kevin Gates. These people are the brains and administrators behind the NBA empire. And then, when it comes to the rapping side, we have a number of NBA members with a much closer proximity to the streets. Now, there's a lot of names that have been affiliated with this crew over the years, and this list is by no means a definitive list of everyone who has had something to do with NBA as a crew, so don't be offended if you got left off. But these are just some of the people who have played a major role in Youngboy's crew and who play a relevant role in today's story. I'm talking about people like NBA Ben 10. This is OG3's younger blood cousin and a day one NBA affiliate. Ben met Youngboy at 3's house, and apparently the two had a fight the first time that they met.
Man, 3 first cousins, blood. Like, we used to stay together. His and my mom used to live together, so that's how I met 3. And then, I met them at 3 hours. I met them. We had a fight. Same day, you know?
But apparently after this fight, they would share a blunt and become good friends, going on to make money and catch cases together since they were just 12 years old.
We spoke the blunt. Yeah, I became part of the NBA the same day. Go ahead. How old was like around that time? I'd say probably 12 or 12.
Ben has been a key part of the collective since day one, with a huge presence on social media, particularly Instagram, where he would give exclusive insights and snippets into the world of Never Broke Again. 10 still posts regularly on Instagram despite his original account having been taken down, and he's even seen some recent success in his own right as a rapper, with songs such as Pain and Walking Dead amassing over 1 million views each. But he's also a loose cannon, and not somebody to be messed with. He was seen on IG Live with Youngboy, Baby Joe, and other NBA members playing with guns, with Ben 10 letting off shots on IG Live, causing Baby Joe to duck for cover. BBG Baby Joe is another one of Youngboy's cousins, who despite his young age, has lived through a lot, including a bullet to the face.
You know, you guys were on the freeway. I think it was you and 2 friends, and a car opened fire on you guys.
Oh, you know, Walmart. Everybody went and got some cake and ice cream for my baby for his birthday. Walk out Walmart, I see this, and then we niggas, I ain't get shot on the interstate. I don't know where people get their information from. I just tried that light, was at the light, and then it just went like that. Yeah.
Man, make sure y'all share that shit.
Despite facing serious danger in the streets, Baby Joe has been aiming to make a name for himself in the music industry and make himself some legitimate money. His 2018 song, Iraq, has over 5 million views, and as a beloved member of the NBA crew, Joe's name often pops up in Youngboy's songs. And if these lyrics are anything to go by, it seems that Joe's relationship with the streets remains strong. Another key member of the crew is Michi Baby. Well known as Youngboy's raspy-voiced big cousin, he's best known for his early 2000s style song Cutlass, as well as his 2020 track with Youngboy, Talk My... a track which has amassed an impressive 47 million views at the time of recording. Youngboy has talked about hitting licks and doing burglaries with his older cousin Michi on numerous occasions in his lyrics, leading some listeners to think that it was perhaps Michi who had influenced Youngboy's involvement with the streets in his early life. Then of course you have Big B, who picked up a lot of attention for his fire verse on the NBA Posse cut, That Gang, which picked up over 5 million views and also featured 3-3 and KD. Big B exhibits a more conventional rapping style compared to some other members of the NBA crew, with less laid-back melodies and catchy hooks, and more hard-hitting bars and punchy refrains delivered with aggressiveness and energy on the mic. There's NBA KD. He's known musically for his versatility and distinct flow, as well as a standout performance on the song That Gang. He also popped up with a verse on the song Extortion with Big B and 3-3, a track which got over 2 million views. His biggest solo track is the 2018 song When I Wake Up, and KD showed a lot of promise and potential in the early years of rap. Unfortunately, his momentum was derailed by a life-changing injury getting shot in 2019. Reportedly, after this incident, KD was confined to a wheelchair. However, there's been a lot of speculation as to whether he was walking again after a period of rehabilitation. Whilst that's not been confirmed, since the incident, he's remained firmly behind the scenes, but is a beloved member of NBA. Another major member of the crew is Herm the Black Sheep. Musically, fans appreciate Herm for his real and authentic lyrics and subject matter rather than his style or flow on the mic. And if the content of his lyrics are to be believed, he is certainly not one to be messed with. In the same vein, there's also Who Gang D, aka Lil D, or Scully. This is another cousin of Youngboy with a serious reputation in the streets and his own budding rap career, with his catchy double-meaning titled song, Can't Go to Sleep, running up 1.6 million views at the time of this writing. Interestingly though, D wasn't even aware that he was Youngboy's cousin when they first became friends, apparently only finding out later through his mother and grandfather.
I didn't know he was my cousin at first.
Oh, really?
See, I was stuck with 3 at first. And then my mama had texted me like, when I was with him for a whole month first, or I do for a month, she had texted me, she was like, she talked to my papa, and he told her that I had a cousin named NBA Youngboy that rap. You get what I'm saying? And she was like, for real, that's crazy, he already be hanging with him.
He's apparently the survivor of a gunshot wound to the neck, with Youngboy having dropped numerous lyrics complimenting D as a reliable shooter, even going as far in the song Bring the Hook to label him a headshot specialist. This is a skill that D himself all but admitted in his off-the-porch interview.
How'd you get the nickname Scully?
From this tattoo, I'm gonna just say it like that. The gun, shooting the score. Scully.
He's got a promising rap career, a likable personality, and a big potential to be a star on the mic if he can stay out of trouble. You've also got Lil Pat, Ben 10's little brother and a known shooter for the NBA crew in the streets. Youngboy has mentioned him as being active in the streets in numerous songs, labeling him specifically as somebody who Youngboy can call on for certain favors. And he recently got 5 years for his apparent involvement in the murder of TBG rival rapper G Money, which we will discuss in detail shortly. There's also NBA Chopper Boy, a big man with a big range in his vocals, bringing a great singing voice to the mic that serves to provide a canvas for his dark and menacing lyrics. Then you've got Barber, one of Youngboy's frequently referenced shooters. Like Pat, Barber, or Baba Osama, is mentioned quite a bit in some of Youngboy's most violent songs, with Youngboy even rapping on the track Carter's Son that he calls up Barber to get the guns and go and rob people for him. Now, Barber has a pretty extensive rap sheet demonstrating just how active he was in the streets, and he's currently locked up on murder charges. But these aren't your average murder charges. It's actually been reported that Baba Osama is facing a whopping 9 counts of murder, with some recent posts on social media even suggesting that Baba Osama was actively working as a gang assassin or hitman, engaging in murder for hire for numerous gangs. Now, that's not necessarily everybody that's been involved with Youngboy's NBA crew over the years, but they are the people that we'll be talking about most extensively in today's story. Clearly, Youngboy's NBA crew are a group of young men coming out of some of the most difficult streets that the Deep South has to offer. Clearly, some of these guys aren't afraid to break the law and even kill to protect what's theirs. Whether that's their own lives, the lives of those around them, or the life of their top breadwinner, Youngboy. The NBA crew are truly willing to do whatever it takes to make sure that they indeed never go broke again. However, there's been a lot of confusion over the years, because as well as NBA, there's another group that Youngboy and other NBA members shout out a lot, and that's 4K Trey, or 4KT. It would appear that while Youngboy started his record label in the name NBA, or Never Broke Again, his affiliations to actual gangs in the streets of Baton Rouge goes by another name. Youngboy has dropped numerous lyrics where he claims to be a member of the gang 4K Trey, who sometimes refer to themselves as Slimes. He's also made numerous references to being in America's infamous Blood Gang. Now, slime is a decades-old term that has been associated over the years with Blood Gang members. This term was initially brought to the public's attention by Blood rapper Vado, who released numerous projects that would reference slime, with the usage of the Blood slang slime and slat being popularized in mainstream modern rap music by Atlanta Blood rapper Young Thug, who is currently incarcerated awaiting trial for gang-affiliated charges. Now, this slime ideology essentially sees Blood members identifying under the color green rather than the traditional red bandana that Blood members are known to wear. And as Youngboy got further into the music industry, he would seemingly build close relationships with other rappers who were known to affiliate with the Blood Gang or identified as slime. People like Birdman, 21 Savage, and Young Thug himself. And as the years went by, Youngboy would increasingly use his lyrics and music videos to shout out his affiliations to 4K Trey, the Blood Gang, or Slimes, even naming his Never Broke Again label compilation album Green Flag Activity, along with him and his crew frequently being seen in public with nothing but slime green bandanas and blue clothing. They would also sometimes refer to each other as fours for 4K Trey. However, for the specific explanation of the gang's name 4K Trey, this has been a mystery that has sparked debate amongst NBA fans for years. One popular theory is that it simply means 4 Kentrell, and that his 4KT gang are killing or shooting specifically for Youngboy, or Kentrell. Another popular theory claims that 4KT actually stands for Forever Killing Them, a more general rallying cry against their ops. Other people think that 4KT actually relates to the names of Youngboy's first children, with the first 4 of their names beginning with K and 1 beginning with T, with this being a more vanilla interpretation of the gang's name, suggesting that 4KT is a way of Youngboy saying that he's essentially doing what he does for his children, whose initials are K and T. Another explanation circulates, suggesting that 4KT actually means 4 Crazy Trey. This is a reference to Crazy Trey, a young man from Baton Rouge who was gunned down at a party in 2014. He was apparently close friends with one of Youngboy's biggest enemies from Baton Rouge, Fredo Bang, a detail which has led many to suggest that this actually couldn't possibly be the true meaning of 4K Trey, with some outright denying this explanation, suggesting that Youngboy had not even yet associated with Fredo Bang at the time 4KT was founded. There's yet another theory that 4KT actually refers to Youngboy's cousin Boozilla, who was killed in 2016, as his real name was Keandre, with a suggestion that 4K Trey actually was originally 4K Dre, or Keandre, but the Dre over time ended up being changed to Trey. Now look, at this stage, it's unclear exactly what 4K Trey stands for, but in the end, perhaps we aren't supposed to know the real meaning. And the idea that the true origins of this gang that Youngboy supposedly affiliates with being shrouded in secrecy kind of makes perfect sense. After all, Youngboy's artist Quando Rondo would even say in his song Way Up that he actually threw a girl out just for even asking what 4K Trey meant. Clearly it's a secret, and clearly I'm not supposed to know, which means you are definitely not supposed to know. But now you know the city, the gangs, the label, and the people behind the music, let's take a closer look at the story, the incredible ups, the devastating downs, and the lessons to be learned from Youngboy's one-of-a-kind career and life journey.
There are no robots.
There's always a real person on the phone. I'm not put on hold, I'm not waiting.
They take care of your problem, and you get back to living your life and doing the things that you want to do.
1-800-CONTACTS.
After falling out with his old label and crew, TBG or Top Boy Gorillas, Youngboy and his brother from another mother, OG3, would start their new crew, NBA, vowing to make it in the rap game and never go broke again.
From day one, that's where NBA started from, like, me and him sitting on that porch, like, really saying we wasn't trying to go broke no more.
The formation of his new NBA crew was announced with a bang when Youngboy dropped his earliest surviving music video, aptly titled NBA, on his own YouTube channel. That video saw Youngboy and 3-3 surrounded by their NBA muscle all around 38th Street with all types of firearms. And the song itself came with lyrics where Youngboy shouted out his shooter, NBA Pat, rapping that he sends Pat
to go and hit people up, as well as shouting out another shooter as NBA Connor with the Mac 11, going on to describe his NBA shooters as being as proficient with firearms as Navy SEALs. He would also rap about the cops and his ops in the city trying to hunt him down, and naming NBA outright as the gang that he represents. Youngboy's first ever mixtape, Life Before Fame, was launched under the TBG banner, the label Top Boy Gorillas, with their logo visible on the bottom left of the cover art. But by December 1st, 2015, Youngboy was going at it alone under his new NBA banner, with a fresh mixtape, Mind of a Menace, being released fully independently and presented under the banner of his own NBA crew. And it would appear that Youngboy and NBA were using this project as an opportunity to drop sneak disses and disrespect towards their former crew, TBG. On the project, he would drop several lines that were directed towards TBG, suggesting that they envied him and that he wasn't willing to work under somebody else's administration. Youngboy was beginning to build momentum independently of his former crew, and he'd keep his foot on the gas into 2016, following up his second mixtape with Speed. On April the 1st, 2016, only 4 months after Mind of a Menace dropped, Youngboy blessed his budding fan base with a sequel, Mind of a Menace 2. And on this project, he continued to drop shade on his former crew TBG. In the intro for this tape, he suggests that they didn't live up to their promises and says that he's ready to go to war with his former allies. Then in the song A Lot of Miles, Youngboy explains that rather than switching on TBG like some say he did, he actually claims to have just gotten smarter and that he hasn't really changed at all, perhaps indicating that he felt he got smart to what was going on and realized that his career would benefit more as a free agent. Youngboy would seemingly indicate his team's readiness to go to war with their former crew. On the track Fact, rapping that he's riding around with Pap, OG3, and Guns, looking for their ops and aiming to make their guns go boom when they see them. Around this time, it seemed clear that Youngboy formed his winning strategy of flooding the internet with music through frequent mixtape releases. Less than 3 months after Mind of a Menace 2, Youngboy would drop yet another mixtape, Before I Go, which was released on June the 27th, 2016. And on this project, Youngboy would begin to drop hints alluding to the ongoing beef with G Money, the star rapper of his former crew TBG, Top Boy Gorillas. Youngboy would also be shooting more threats to his former crew on the song Change, saying Youngboy, not TBG, and if someone plays, he's gonna get it. And another lyric on the song Change seemed to acknowledge a rumor that G Money had actually hooked up with Youngboy's sister, with Youngboy saying he won't speak on sleeping with my sister, something that perhaps wasn't public knowledge at the time of this song's release. But around a year later, G Money would openly admit and kind of brag about hooking up with Youngboy's sister in a Say Cheese interview.
He mad about his sister too, though.
About his sister?
Yeah, I had a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
The beef between Youngboy and G Money would be further complicated by Youngboy's cousin Boozilla. Boozilla repped BBG, or Bottom Boy Gorillas. They were the main rivals of TBG until Youngboy started his NBA crew. The story goes that G Money from TBG was beefing with Boozilla from BBG over some stolen drugs. Drugs which some believe Youngboy himself may have actually stolen, blaming Boozilla. This theory is based on lyrics G Money rapped on his song Industry, where he claimed Youngboy's own cousin wanted to kill him. So, on July the 16th, 2016, Youngboy's cousin Boozilla drops the song Forgive Me, where he's dissing TBG and repping BBG. He wears a BBG t-shirt in the video, and he shouts out the Bottom Boys as his crew. He'd rap lyrics seeming to suggest that he was a shooter and that he wants to kill a rapper. But more specifically, he dissed another local rapper by the name of FL Dusa. Dusa is from the FL, or Forever Loyalty crew, who would later be closely affiliated with TBG, with Dusa himself later dropping numerous songs with Fredo Bang, Lit Yoshi, and other TBG artists. In Boozilla's song Forgive Me, he raps that Dusa is scared to walk through the South and that he's laying down the law in his area. Apparently the beef between Boozilla and Dusa was extremely personal and would eventually turn deadly. But before things would escalate to more violence, Youngboy would end up making a huge leap forward in his rap career. On September the 21st, 2016, Youngboy drops the video for his breakout track, 38 Baby. Named after the street he grew up on, Northside 38, this song was a window into his life, fresh out of the streets. The track painted a picture of his daily life, drinking lean, smoking with demons, and sending his hitters at people for any reason he could find, explaining how he's not able to go anywhere without being armed, and having to look out for old friends who turned on him over envy. Frankly, this song described a lot of pressure for a 16-year-old kid to be dealing with at the time. In the track, he also seemed to drop shade on G Money and TBG, denying their claims that they blew him up as a rapper and claiming that they just don't like the fact that he's now blowing up faster than them. The music video for 38 Baby saw Youngboy and his friends toting plenty of firearms, and many people were taken aback by seeing somebody so young, surrounded by so much danger, and communicating the stark reality of their life so clearly over a catchy beat. Hell, footage would later even circulate showing that Youngboy actually recorded many of the songs from around this period with an actual AK-47 on him in the recording booth. This 16-year-old Youngboy was living a life truly beyond his years. And this spectacle would attract the attention of many, many more fans and music industry players. The song 38 Baby and its music video has garnered over 100 million views on YouTube to this day. And the song itself was followed by a full mixtape, also titled 38 Baby, which dropped on October the 28th, 2016. This project would truly be the watershed moment of Youngboy's career professionally, and he would finally get co-signs from respected rappers in the industry. As on the mixtape itself, Youngboy secured collaborations with fellow Louisiana Baton Rouge legends such as Kevin Gates and Boosie Badass, as well as a verse from his day one brother OG3. In fact, Kevin Gates, after appearing on the 38 Baby mixtape track Like Me, even got a portrait of Youngboy tattooed on his right leg just to show his admiration for the rising Louisiana legend. And Boosie would invite Youngboy to feature on his November 2016 track My Lil Son, where Youngboy rapped menacingly about sliding on his ops with NBA Joe and 3-3. But back to the 38 Baby mixtape. As well as gaining Youngboy the respect of heavy hitters in the Baton Rouge rap scene, it also gained Youngboy an enormous amount of fame and success in the eyes of his fan base. But bizarrely, in very Youngboy fashion, rather than reveling in the success of his latest release, just a week after the 38 Baby project dropped, he came out with yet another mixtape, Mind of a Menace 3, releasing on November the 4th, 2016. This time, coming with yet another major industry co-sign, a remix of his song Murder featuring Atlanta blood rapper 21 Savage, a remix which also dropped with a music video the very same day. Youngboy even later claimed that he became a member of 21 Savage's set of the Blood Gang, 4L, and they seemingly fostered a close relationship, something which would unfortunately deteriorate years later. But regardless, at this point Youngboy seemingly had fully muscled his way into the music industry, and it would be these major moves that would have Youngboy's name ringing not just in the streets, but also in the corner offices of record labels. At a certain point in 2016, he started working with super manager Fee Banks, a Louisiana industry legend who had apparently helped Lil Wayne start Young Money and previously managed Kevin Gates. Fee would begin to advocate on behalf of Youngboy in the music industry, ultimately putting him in the position to field multi-million-dollar offers from major record labels. So at this point, Youngboy was seemingly set. He'd survived the dangerous streets of Northside 38, escaping the trenches with his life, and escaping the clutches of his former crew TBG, as a free agent able to take his career wherever he wanted without hindrance. The problem is, sometimes you can rise to the top so fast that it hurts. And unfortunately for Youngboy, troubling legal issues seem to arrive just as quickly as the money and fame did. And unfortunately, due to the brewing troubles in the streets between his former crew and his extended family, Youngboy would end up being placed in a difficult position, ultimately catching a serious case that had the potential to put complete stop to his promising career just as it was getting started. While Youngboy's star is beginning to rise, the deadly war on the streets of Baton Rouge is raging on. After departing from the crew TBG, Top Boy Gorilla, Youngboy and his Never Broke Again or NBA collective would become bitter rivals with the former crew. And this situation was only complicated further by the ongoing drama between TBG and their original rivals BBG, Gotham Boy Gorillas, a crew which Youngboy's cousin Boozilla was a prominent member of. Despite the two apparently having a falling out in 2015, it would seem that by 2016, Boozilla and Youngboy's NBA crew had made things right, as Boozilla would post on Twitter that he'd forgiven, as well as tweeting warning people not to play with BBG or NBA, suggesting that these two crews were in alliance against TBG and any of their affiliates. But things would all come to a head for these warring groups at the end of 2016. On July the 16th, 2016, Youngboy's cousin Boozilla drops the song Forgive Me, where he's dissing TBG and repping BBG, with lyrics in the song dissing another local rapper by the name of FL Dusa, saying Dusa is scared to walk through the South and that they're laying down the law in their area. It would seem that this lyric was taken as a personal challenge by his opposition, as just after midnight on November the 2nd, 2016, Youngboy's cousin, 18-year-old BBG Boozilla, real name Keandre Ricks, would be riding his bike near the 2000 block of Nebraska Street, less than a block from his family home. And it was here where he was targeted by gunmen who shot him multiple times in the upper torso and left him dead in the middle of the street. Boozilla's mother would go on to do a distraught interview with WAFB News after reports of the brutal killing became public.
You gotta bury your child. This is so wrong when people kill kids.
Kenya Taylor is still grieving more than a month after her son, 18-year-old Keandre Ricks, was shot and killed just steps away from his Nebraska Street home.
It's like I'm dreaming and I haven't woke up yet. Like, I had a bad dream. I'm just waiting on the Lord to wake me up.
Taylor walked us over to where her son's body was found, a place she's visited often, trying to make sense of this senseless killing.
Then this way he must have failed it right here. Could have had blood all right here.
Now, after this shooting, things get very complicated. It's widely believed that the murder of Bouzilla was in connection with the ongoing feud that he had going with FL Dusa, with the majority of the comments on Bouzilla's music video Forgive Me seeming to mock him, saying that he said Dusa is scared to walk through the South, and suggesting that this caused somebody to come through and take his life. Now, despite the differences they may have had in the past, naturally the murder of Bouzilla would have devastating effects on his cousin Youngboy and other members of NBA and BBG. So, unsurprisingly, it didn't take long for those on Bouzilla's side to attempt to get revenge for his murder. Bouzilla was killed around midnight on Wednesday the 2nd November 2016, and retaliation would come around 9.5 hours later, when around 9:30 a.m. on the 2000 block of Kentucky Street, just a couple of blocks away from where the fatal shooting of Bouzilla occurred, a vehicle containing Youngboy and 3 of his NBA affiliates pulls up and starts shooting. Unfortunately, this attempt at revenge ends up going wrong, and somebody from Youngboy's group ends up getting shot in the neck. Allegedly, NBA Joe.
Police find a man suffering from a gunshot wound to the neck, saying he was shot in a different neighborhood just a few streets away.
With rumors circulating, debating whether or not it was friendly fire from Youngboy or his side hitting Joe, or the targets of their gunfire returning fire and connecting. And years later, the police report from the incident would even suggest that Youngboy himself had been firing from the vehicle with an assault rifle. Regardless of exactly who was responsible, at this point the getaway car flees the scene, with the shooters and the injured man driving to the area of May and East Lakeshore Drive. Ultimately, this car would end up getting a flat tire and crashing at the LSU Lakes. Here, the shooters flee, leaving the injured man in his vehicle, where he's fortunately found by police and given medical attention. Naturally, it didn't take long for details of these outrageous back-to-back shootings to hit the news.
At this hour, there are a lot of questions remaining around 2 Baton Rouge shootings. One left a teenager dead, the other ended with the victim wounded at LSU Lakes.
Possibly 3 different scenes, and all 3 may be connected. That's what Baton Rouge police are trying to figure out. They have been interviewing witnesses, but so far, they do not have any suspects. Just after midnight, Baton Rouge police went out to Nebraska Street. 18-year-old Keandre Ricks was found dead, lying in the street, shot multiple times in the chest. Neighbors in the area tell us they saw a silver-colored Hyundai with 3 people inside driving around the area late night and into this morning. Then, shortly after 9:30 this morning, police get a call from a man shot once in the neck around the LSU Lakes. When they finally found him, he was in a silver-colored Hyundai. He was transported to the hospital and listed in stable condition as of now. Baton Rouge police have said the shooting did not start here at the lakes. Instead, they're looking to see if 3 different scenes are all connected. The first was at Nebraska, well, just 8 streets over, or 0.4 miles away. Around 9:30 this morning, police say a man was shot in the neck. He, or the suspect, then drove 1.4 miles to East Lakeshore in May, around the LSU Lakes, and called police for help. This is not a random shooting. They believe the shooter and victim actually did know each other.
Surprisingly, however, the violence was still not over, and the following day, on the 3rd of November 2016, at roughly 9:49 a.m., shooters would return to the street where Bouzilla lived with his family and was killed, with officers nearby claiming to have heard 37 gunshots, apparently fired by 2 shooters, who then fled the scene in a getaway vehicle. They would leave 2 homes on the street riddled with bullets. And at this point, the violence in Baton Rouge, held just in this street alone, was spiraling out of control. And at a certain point, the danger was so high that the authorities placed the local school on lockdown out of fear that further shootings would affect the children in the local community.
A number of schools in East Baton Rouge Parish are on lockdown, but for separate reasons today. We start with the 3 schools that were also placed on lockdown yesterday.
Police are still on scene here at the intersection of Nebraska and East Harrison Street. They're looking into reports of shots fired earlier today. Now, you can see details are still very limited, but much of the investigation is centered around this white home here, right near the intersection of East Harrison and Nebraska Street. This is the latest in a rash of recent shootings in this area over the past few days, including one that left an 18-year-old dead. The teen was found shot to death Wednesday in the 2000 block of Nebraska Street. That incident happened around midnight. Then yesterday morning, around 9:30, a man was shot in the neck on Kentucky Street, which is just a couple of blocks from the spot where that fatal shooting occurred. The victim left the area in a car and then parked around the LSU Lakes to call for help. These recent violent incidents near Nebraska have left some residents feeling uneasy.
At this point, even people living on this street were being interviewed by the news, telling them that it's like living in hell.
I live on this street, and this by the worst street to live on. You say living in hell? This is hell right here. The young folks don't have no respect for old Elizabeth.
At some point, the shooting would stop, the smoke would clear, and local investigators would finally be able to piece together exactly what had happened and putting those involved in handcuffs. A 17-year-old man by the name of Trayshawn Coates would be arrested and charged with second-degree murder for the killing of Boozilla, along with a 27-year-old man by the name of Monty Carey. This was reported in The Advocate, that also published an interview with Boozilla's mother. In it, she would claim that since the killing, her other children's grades have fallen in school and that they're suffering behavioural issues. And I thought that this was an important detail to include, because you have to remember that when somebody gets killed in a gang feud, it starts a chain reaction, and ultimately, this cycle of violence affects far more than just the victims. Whether it's their innocent relatives suffering depression following the incident, or surviving friends who vow to commit acts of violence in revenge, a vicious cycle is started when that first killing happens, that only accelerates with more retaliation, dragging more and more innocent people into this deadly cycle of violence. Anyway, despite the rumours that FL Dousa was involved in the killing of Boozilla after he dissed him on the song Forgive Me, Dousa, real name Renard Clifton, would not be connected to this incident officially, though theories would circulate online suggesting that he was the one that sent the hit. He would remain free following this incident, going on to release songs like Straight Facts. However, he would end up in jail on a separate attempted murder charge stemming from a double shooting on the 3rd of June 2018, which we'll go into in detail later. But with the shooters of Boozilla in cuffs, the Baton Rouge police would next be tasked with finding those NBA members who slid the following day, with one member who got shot in the neck already in the arms of law enforcement. Their next job was to get their hands on Youngboy himself. A warrant was issued for his arrest, and he would be tracked down by authorities, being arrested on November the 28th, being taken into custody by US Marshals just before he could get on stage at a show in Austin, Texas, in dramatic scenes that were even caught on camera.
Hey, get inside, get inside. Hey, get the hell inside, get the fuck inside.
Youngboy was charged on suspicion of attempted first-degree murder from the alleged drive-by shooting, while NBA Big B, real name Trulondrick Norman, was also involved in the shooting but wouldn't get arrested for his role in it until 2019. There was also NBA Ben 10, real name Ben Fields, who would also be identified as having participated in this drive-by shooting. As a result, following the arrest of the NBA crew and Youngboy himself, the local news will begin to report on this dramatic takedown of one of Baton Rouge's most promising rappers.
17-year-old rapper Kentrell Gaulden, better known by his stage name NBA Youngboy, is behind bars tonight after being taken into custody by federal authorities before a concert in Austin, Texas.
Tonight, police say they've arrested 17-year-old Kentrell Gaulden, a rapper known by his stage name NBA Youngboy, in connection to a drive-by shooting on Kentucky Street. Detectives believe those shootings may have been in retaliation to Rick's death and say more arrests are possible as they continue to investigate.
The Jergens Essential Oil Body Butter Collection, the feel-good feeling of Jergens.
At this point, Youngboy would be taken back to Louisiana and booked into prison with a $200,000 bond being set. But the Baton Rouge police weren't done seeking justice yet, as the final piece of the puzzle would fall into place once police announced an arrest in the third shooting, which occurred on Boozilla Street the day after NBA members had attempted to get revenge for his death the previous night, with cops identifying 20-year-old Derek Geis, who was taken into custody, accused of being the getaway driver for two other shooters, being charged with attempted murder, attempted second-degree murder, aggravated criminal damage of property, illegal use of a weapon, and simple criminal damage to property. And he would ultimately end up pleading down to a lesser weapons charge and getting only 2 years in jail, with cops ultimately identifying one of the shooters in the case as Michael Odenyinma, as well as, shockingly, Trayshawn Coates, that very same person who was charged for the Boozilla murder just the day before. Which means that if true, the person that killed Boozilla did it, got spun on by NBA, and still went back the very next day and shot up that same block again. But unfortunately, due to him being just age 17, there was never any public reporting on whether or not he was found guilty for these crimes or sentenced. The murder of Boozilla and days of deadly violence that followed truly rocked this Baton Rouge community, as well as those connected to the victims. Many NBA members would get RIP Boo tattoos on their necks, and others would be seen toting guns at Boozilla's grave. Regular celebrations would be held called Boo Day on his birthday in his honor, and at the 2018 celebration of Boozilla's life, his mother would speak to a crowd, delivering some poignant words to a number of friends and family who had gathered in the area.
It's just my baby time to go. Yes, it hurts. But good Lord called him home, so we're in a better place. And if they ask him to come back, he must want to come back here. He just gonna wait on us to come up there, so y'all gotta do good, so y'all can make it to heaven. He was like, we just for the Lord. I know a lot of you guys do a lot of stupid things. I ain't gonna tell y'all, don't handle y'all business, but if they ain't coming at you, don't worry about it. But if they come at you, you handle your business. That's all I can tell you. But all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pray for all of y'all. Pray y'all make it home safe and pray for y'all every day. Because I don't want nobody to go through what I'm going through, because this really hurts. This like about to send me insane. Like some days I do good and some days I have my bad days and the day just a good day. But I don't want to see nobody mama going through what I'm going through, nobody's siblings, nobody's family, that really hurts. They like, when somebody do things like that, change a person's whole life. If you hurt that person, you hurt that person, and they're meant for them to be here, they're going to leave you. So that person ain't peace. But that person's family is suffering. So all I want y'all to do is do good, get y'all education, be the best y'all can be, the sky's the limit, whatever y'all want to do, y'all do.
It's important to remember that no matter how many songs or social media posts glamorize the sliding that goes on between these gangs, behind this are grieving families, mothers and siblings who have to live with the consequences of these split-second decisions. And as she said, when somebody dies in the gang wars, that person who died is at peace. It's everyone else who was innocent to the original beef that has to live on with the grief of someone else's impulsive decisions. Sadly, it would take many years for Youngboy to realize the consequences of the violence playing out in his music and in his life. But for now, he would be stuck in the system waiting for a chance to plead his case in front of a judge. At the time of these charges, Youngboy was only 17 years old, but Louisiana is one of the few states in the US where 17-year-olds can be charged as adults. And so, Youngboy spent December 2016 to August 2017 incarcerated, waiting for updates on his case. But, at least for the fans, it wasn't all bad, because while Youngboy was locked up, his management team got to work and did their best to keep his music career alive. They created an updated version of his previous project, Before I Go, re-releasing it as Before I Go Reloaded, removing the songs Stuck With Me, Change, and All Night, and adding that 21 Savage remix of Murder, along with the track Bands and Fact. Then, on April the 14th, 2017, the label also released a reloaded version of his Mind of a Menace 3 mixtape, which removed the Murder remix with 21 Savage, because they just put it on the Before I Go Reloaded mixtape, as well as taking off the tracks Life and Booting in this, and adding the tracks Blowing Up and Just Made a Play featuring Moneybagg Yo. So, while Youngboy was sitting in jail, all of these songs that were being released were picking up heat in the streets, and fans would eagerly await his release. And eventually, to some people's surprise, Youngboy was actually able to cut a pretty favorable deal with prosecutors, copping to the lesser charge of aggravated assault with a firearm. On August the 22nd, 2017, Youngboy was sentenced to a term of 10 years suspended prison time and 3 years of active supervised probation, which essentially meant that he was able to get out of jail and return to his music career. But the potential to have to go back and serve a full 10 years in prison would now follow him around for 3 years, along with a probation officer who would be closely supervising his every move going forward. In addition to that, he was also ordered to pay a fine of $5,000 and do 250 hours of supervised community service, which apparently even included doing an anti-violence PSA, which to the disappointment of fans everywhere, never seemed to actually surface publicly. But Youngboy wouldn't simply waltz out of the courtroom, because apparently during that sentence, he had what was described as a tense but respectful back and forth with District Judge Bonnie Jackson. Apparently during the case, she admonished him for going out with his boys looking for trouble and finding him. But Youngboy, to his credit, kept his cool during this exchange, taking full responsibility for everything that had gone down in the incident. Judge Jackson went on to say that she didn't care about Youngboy's celebrity status and suggested that his rap music wasn't helping the high rates of violence in the community that he was coming out of. The judge would tell him directly that the genre of music that he makes has a lot to do with the mindset that people have, suggesting that it normalized violence. Apparently, Youngboy actually interjected at this point, reminding the judge that nobody had actually died in the incident, with the judge clapping back, saying that he's lucky that he's such a bad aim and that he wasn't facing first-degree murder charges. It's also worth pointing out that the court did hear about how Youngboy had been trying to make a difference in his community by looking after his mother, buying her a home, and giving out school supplies to local children. The judge would then make a smearing and condescending remark about the fact that Youngboy had 3 kids at 17 years old. In response to that dig by the judge, Youngboy promised to do right by his family, and once Youngboy accepted his plea, he would be released from jail ahead of the actual sentencing, being welcomed home by hotshot rappers like Boosie and Young Dolph. Youngboy would be seen fresh home on social media, being greeted by his NBA crew, and rocking the same Burberry button-up shirt that he was booked for the crime in.
What up, Mac, man? I'm cool, man. Austin, Texas, man. We got fever to
Being greeted outside jail by Montana in a white Maybach. Youngboy was was fresh home, and music would be the first thing on his mind. He would be seen filming freestyles in the same outfit and surrounded by his crew and manager, Big Dumb.
Count 3 and tell them zone. Jay in the studio is Zay in the studio is Strange on the grind every day. I've been chasing that set real there. They ain't baby on the front of the track.
His first major release since his release would be the biggest song of his career so far, the track Untouchable. This was a big single where Youngboy spoke optimistically about making it out of the struggle of the Baton Rouge streets and vowing to make the most of this opportunity that he had to make it through music, and declaring his intention to move out of Baton Rouge to Los Angeles, where he would hope that he no longer needs to carry a gun. Untouchable ended up hitting number 95 on the Billboard charts, becoming Youngboy's first solo single to chart in the United States. By August 2017, Youngboy was back in the studio, ready to focus on his music career, despite the prying eyes of a probation officer set to be following him for the coming years. So, following the successful release of Untouchable, Youngboy's team would drop his latest mixtape, AI Youngboy, on August 4th, 2017, a project which would end up landing at the impressive number 24 on Billboard's 200 album chart. This also included another popular single, the track No Smoke, which surpassed Untouchable and ended up landing at number 61 on Billboard's Hot 100 singles chart. Youngboy was storming the charts and seemingly attracting the attention of both labels and other rappers. Funnily enough, on the song Gigi, Youngboy seemed to suggest that Chicago rapper Lil Durk and his collective had tried to sign him to his crew and record label, OTF, or Only the Family. But Youngboy would have bigger ideas than signing to another rapper, as only days after Youngboy's sentencing went public, it would then be announced that he had officially signed to Atlantic Records, in a huge 5-album contract reportedly worth $2 million. And Youngboy would seemingly celebrate this deal by purchasing a Tiger and telling fans that he got paid a big bag.
I'm like, you pay me. You pay me. Yeah. I got that bag, I'm getting paid for everything I do.
So, despite losing his cousin Boozilla and very nearly losing his freedom attempting to get revenge, in the end, Youngboy would escape a long prison sentence, returning to the music career that was buzzing before he went to jail, and taking it to new heights, landing chart positions on Billboard and a multi-million-dollar deal with a major record label. Things were on the up for the NBA crew, but despite the wins they were having in the industry, there would still be tension in the streets, as Youngboy had a whole host of enemies who would be dissing him while he was locked up, and desperate to see him fall when he was released, with the NBA crew ultimately taking drastic action to protect their star prospect.
I love everything that the ARC stands for. I love how they not only care about the people that we support, they also care about the staff. They're going to make sure that you have all the tools that you need to support your person.
When Youngboy began picking up steam as a rapper in Baton Rouge, naturally, he attracted a lot of opposition. After parting ways with former street crew turned label TBG, Top Boy Gorilla, he would find himself at war with their main artists, G-Money and Fredo Bang. But they wouldn't be the only enemies that Youngboy would make in the city. In November 2015, Youngboy dropped a song called Homicide, a collaboration with another Baton Rouge rapper by the name of Scotty Kane. They would appear together on the song and in the music video, and apparently, Youngboy would become friends with Kane. But later, they had a falling out, with some suggesting that Kane may have felt slighted by lyrics on his song So Long, where Youngboy rapped that he blew up in his city and that he was getting views even without the song with Scotty. This was followed by an IG live clip where Youngboy would rap lyrics saying that someone changed on him. Apparently at some point, Scotty Kane caught Youngboy in a studio and slapped him, later taking to social media to explain his side of the story, saying that Youngboy had begged him for a verse and after asked him for money for shoes, and saying that he was trying to get close to Scotty Kane's crew because he had fallen out with TBG, with Kane even going as far as to tell Youngboy if he really has money, then send a hit and kill him.
I'm gonna address the situation like a man. Your bitch ass rolled my cousin. Yeah, I came to the studio. He begged me to do the first verse. I did not want to do it. I thought about it. I'm like, well, then I'm gonna go ahead and get that chance. I did the verse. Your bitch ass asked me to put some on your shoes. You not with my label, bitch ass. It's so cute. I'm doing what? I'm going to have with you on shoes and videos, but it was over there riding TBG. They wanted to run your ass out. Now your ass come trying to rub my finger. Now you get on and do all this. You got bread, kill. Drop your bread, man. What the? Don't do all that. Kill me, come see me. Living like that. Cause you know me. I'm living like that all day, every day. You know how I'm coming.
In response to this deadly threat from Kane, Youngboy would reply to this by rapping more lyrics from the song Gravity and showing that he had goons behind him ready to shoot.
Yeah, and I don't want nobody but my mama boy and my they was doing super unemployed. Remember, I ain't had nothing to eat, I go steal for it. Show you my bank account, I swear I got 6 figures large. Then I need a hate crowd and will snake me for it. Then under the sky, living under the board. I ain't even, they wasn't made for it. Lord, please don't mistake me, play them die, cause I ain't going in the life that I'm living. I'm proud to make it through the night. As I ride to my city, I'm looking at the lights.
Youngboy would appear to address the incident on the song Who You Supposed to Be, admitting that he was sent an address where he pulled up and where he was confronted by 3 people, and seemingly admitting to crying when they pulled out guns on him, but still mocking them for not using the guns, and ending the track seemingly threatening to kill Scotty Kane. Later on, Pablo El Chapo, who had apparently intervened in this incident where guns had been pulled on Youngboy in a studio, posted a clip to social media, seemingly confirming that Youngboy cried and suggesting that he had saved his life.
But I do know, little young boy, pulling rods on your days, you was crying in the studio. I saved your fucking life. I told my younger man, leave that slide, bro. That crying, man. Crying in front of his manager, man. Slide, he ain't about that gang shit. Y'all asked him to fight, he won't fight. Then when he brought up the gun, what you doing with the gun? 2 or 3 guns in your face, you was crying. Dead boy. Chapo say.
Kane would actually respond to Youngboy in a diss track of his own, only days after his cousin Boozilla was gunned down. Scotty Kane would drop the Youngboy diss track NBA Smoke, produced by prolific TBG producer Austin on the Track. On this track, Kane would return Youngboy's death threats with threats of his own, as well as saying that somebody killed Boozilla and he didn't do anything about it. Kind of an ironic lyric, considering that a month after this song dropped, Youngboy would indeed be charged with double attempted murder, attempting to do something about Boozilla. But while Youngboy was in jail for doing exactly that, Scotty would drop a video on Instagram, seemingly distancing himself from this beef.
Hey, look, man, I'm on the road to success, man. I ain't with none of that. Y'all can have it. I ain't with that bitch. I ain't trying to kill none of you. I ain't trying to do none of that with none of you, man. Y'all can have it. I got kids. I got so much going on good for me, dog. Like, that's a lot happening right now. I ain't with no cop and deuces and this. I just ain't with it. Like, I ain't having this. Like, too many people that's depending on it. Too many people that care about me. I don't need to be doing all this stuff. Like, I gotta listen to my kids, my family, and everybody else that love me, dog. Like, all y'all can have it. And y'all want it, y'all can have it.
And he would go on to say in an interview with Gutter TV that he regretted dropping his death-threatening Youngboy diss, NBA Smoke.
Like, I ain't gonna lie, even though NBA Smoke did so many views, I regret it. You feel me? Like, I'm gonna honestly say that. Like, I didn't want to do that, you know what I'm saying? But you know, it's certain shit that you gotta. I feel like that was my flaw, that song. You feel me? So y'all just saying that raw and all that did try to do this and that. I don't even like the song. Tell the truth, I hate that. I don't care how many views they got on it. You feel me?
However, the beef would be reignited when Youngboy returned home from jail. Scotty Kane would post a clip to social media showcasing a long set of both bankrolls and fingernails and saying, "Get your cash. You don't get any money."
Get your cash in,
This would attract a response from OG3, who posted a picture of Youngboy with money and a caption saying what Kane was holding ain't half of what Youngboy's holding. This would apparently prompt a response from Kane, where he said that OG3 was holding his big dog's money. Now, I couldn't actually find that post, but Youngboy seemingly responded from the back of his Maybach, even dragging his manager feedbacks into the situation.
Boy, listen to my music, film my dollar free, I'm boy, this safe fee. I ain't about to tell them I ain't got no big dog, man, everything in my pocket for me. Wrong deal, man. Tripping, boy, get off my.
Apparently, a few months later, Scotty got his chain taken, and Youngboy would clown him online immediately after the thieves exposed that they had taken his chain. However, something else would also happen during this beef that would appear to be much more sinister. A prominent producer for TBG, Austin on the Track, who had made numerous beats for songs made by Youngboy's biggest rival G Money and Scotty Kane himself, as well as landing credits for Chicago rappers like G Herbo. Austin on the Track was quite literally the person who made the beat for Scotty Kane's NBA Youngboy diss track, NBA Smoke. Well, at around 7 p.m. on the 10th of August 2017, TBG-affiliated producer Austin on the Track, real name Austin Rashad Norwood, was sitting in a car with another person outside the Ardenwood Village apartment complex on North Ardenwood Drive. At this point, somebody turned up and sprayed the car with bullets, after which the suspected shooter fled the scene in a car before crashing and escaping on foot. This would leave the passenger injured and Austin himself dead at the scene. This was a brutal assassination, with investigators being seen examining the bullet-riddled scene. But in a chilling turn of events, the body of Austin would even be left in place in the driver's seat of the car, which was towed away from the murder scene, with detectives claiming that the entire car, with the body inside it, had become a crime scene and would need to be moved with the body to a controlled environment so that they could process all of the DNA evidence. Police would ultimately describe the murder as a suspected robbery, with cops claiming that Austin and his cousin had gone to an address to sell a cell phone that they had advertised online, a situation described on the news as a setup.
A man is shot and killed while trying to sell a phone on North Ardenwood Drive last night.
2 men shot after police say they were lured to the Ardenwood Village apartments in hopes of selling a cell phone to someone they met online. At some point, that transaction taking a dark turn.
While there, the individuals attempted to rob them, shot into the vehicle, striking both victims.
With the victims left for dead inside the car, the suspected shooter allegedly took off. Sergeant L.J. McNeely says for now, it's unclear if whoever pulled the trigger acted alone.
We're just keeping it open-ended and not going to dictate if it's 1, 2, or 3, 4 different suspects. But as the investigation continues, we'll determine all the individuals that was involved.
Now, as far as I was able to find out, this murder was never solved. And once again, let me make it very clear, there's nothing connecting Youngboy or the NBA crew to this crime, but it's certainly yet another case of somebody involved closely in the rap scene in Baton Rouge, in this case, the producer of prominent Youngboy diss tracks, who seemingly wound up losing his life in a brutal gangland-style slaying, with the police none the wiser as to who was responsible. A month after this brutal murder, in September, it was believed that Scotty Kane and Youngboy would finally squash their beef, after Scotty Kane posted a picture of them together on a FaceTime call, along with a caption suggesting that they were on positive terms and both focused on earning money and success rather than beef. Though it would seem that the NBA crew would eventually have the last laugh, as many years later, Scotty Kane would get a taste of his own medicine. He himself ultimately wound up getting jumped on camera in a studio, just like Youngboy did. And OG3 would later even be seen on social media with the person who had allegedly jumped Kane. Fortunately for Youngboy, the Scotty Kane beef would be resolved without anyone losing their life. Sadly, however, not everyone would be so lucky. Beef that Youngboy was involved in during his rise to fame was with G Money. Real name Garrett Burton, he was a former friend and a star over at Youngboy's former label, TBG. Youngboy's other biggest opposition, Scotty Kane, would release the scathing Youngboy diss track NBA Smoke just days after Youngboy's cousin Boozilla got killed. And while Youngboy ended up in jail on attempted murder charges for attempting to avenge Boozilla, G Money was linking up with Youngboy's ops and building alliances to diss him. In January 2017, G Money linked up with Pablo El Chapo, one of the people who'd been in the studio when Scotty Kane allegedly stuck up Youngboy with a gun and made him cry. They would collaborate on a new Youngboy diss titled WNBA Smoke, where they referred to him as WNBA Youngboy and dissed him extensively. G Money would rap saying that he will send a blitz to take out Youngboy and his team for dissing him, as well as warning Youngboy that he will kill him for beefing with them. G Money also appeared on Scotty Kane's song Ain't Gon' Ride, where G Money rapped how he heard someone dissing him, but he can't kill them because they keep posting on Instagram. When Youngboy got out of jail, he dropped his AI Youngboy mixtape, and that included numerous lyrics seemingly responding to G Money, like the track Ride On 'Em, where Youngboy seemed to say outright that he's not squashing the beef and that he just talked to the devil, as well as saying that the only way the beef is going to end is if G Money gets shot. And he would go on to rap that he's dropping a bag on him and his crew, and that they're going to ride on him and smash him. Youngboy was seemingly letting the whole world know that he was planning to pay to have G Money killed. And throughout the verses, he would make bold claims saying that he's going to get it by any means and that the beef is never getting squashed. He would claim that his rising fame had his rivals mad, and saying that somebody is going to get their head bust for making a diss song about him. Youngboy would also claim to be the reason that their friend got killed, going on to rap that somebody shot up his grandmother's house with a .22, but his shooters got back and sent the ops a special delivery from Youngboy. Now, it's unclear exactly who Youngboy is talking about having had killed here, but it could have something to do with a rumor that members from a TBG-affiliated crew called TMH, or Too Many Hitters, shot up Youngboy's grandmother's house, with TMH32 later denying having shot up Youngboy's grandmother's house in his song FAN. Anyway, clearly G Money wasn't scared of Youngboy's counter-threats, so he would decide to turn the disrespect up to a whole new level. On August the 15th, 2017, a sensational interview emerged where G Money seemed to be talking extremely recklessly about Youngboy, suggesting that they used to be homies, but pointing the finger at Youngboy, saying that he started sneak dissing him once he became successful.
So, I mean, do y'all have history? Were y'all ever cool, you know, prior, years prior?
Yeah, that like my little partner, he used to be like my little brother. He stayed with me and everything. Everything was still all good until he started, you know what I'm saying, like doing his own thing, getting on the little buzz, getting the little money. He just got the big head and just started feeling like like the feelings he been feeling probably deep down inside that he was scared to put out. He let that out once he got a name and got from down here.
And then G-Money dropped maximum shade by being very disrespectful about Youngboy's sister and saying that he'd slept with her.
He mad about his sister too, though.
About his sister?
Yeah, I had a long time ago.
Oh, okay.
Initially, G-Money and Youngboy would go back and forth on Instagram, with G-Money making a post suggesting that he's not jealous of Youngboy because he's already rich and living where the white folks live.
Like I'm already rich and I ain't even rich. And I'm living with the white folks. Wrong with these don't impress me, man. You hear me? I know real money, man. Don't impress me, man. You hear me? You know what I'm saying? Copycat. You the next you see me do, you want to do what you're supposed to be up to.
Youngboy would reply with his own story, asking G-Money why he doesn't like him, and saying that he doesn't like G-Money and he's down to beef.
Saying, nigga, what you don't like me or something like that around? I'm saying, like, what you got something against me? Say that there, man. Don't be on Instagram that put in 2 different states. You know what it is. Stop, man. What you saying? Huh? I'm about big, man. What it is? You hear me? You man. I don't like you. I don't keep on that. I don't like you.
G-Money would reply saying F Youngboy and he doesn't care if he doesn't like him, going on to accuse him of copying his style by posting pictures with a Mercedes G-Wagon.
What you don't like him, it's not. You know, for you to like, you hear me? You know what I'm saying? Just copping off him. I pull up in that wagon, you gonna take a picture by a G-Wagon. Boy, you really my son, stop watching me, man. Oh yeah. Get off.
Then, a few days later, G-Money would officially go at Youngboy on wax with the scathing diss track, Industry. G-Money's diss song, Industry, called out Youngboy and the whole NBA crew on a number of bases. It had those lyrics that seemed to hint that Youngboy had been the one who tipped off G-Money about his cousin Boozilla running off with drugs, and it had more lines seemingly confirming that he had hooked up with Youngboy's sister, putting maximum disrespect on him. He also dissed Youngboy for sneak dissing him, and as the title of the song suggested, it dropped shade on Youngboy for signing a record deal and no longer being in the streets, with G-Money suggesting that after signing this deal, Youngboy had turned industry. The song also had another important lyric that seemed to confirm rumors that G-Money had actually had a price put on his head. G-Money even mentions Youngboy's mother, saying he can't kill him because he's Sharonda's son, indicating that G-Money knows Youngboy's mother well. He also called out 3-3 and Montana from NBA, saying that they don't want beef with him. G-Money also brushed off Youngboy's earlier suggestion that he can pay to have him killed, saying that he will kill anyone who tries them, ultimately declaring Baton Rouge his city. The music video for Industry also included a Chucky doll, which was actually a reference to an early Youngboy video called What I Was Taught that dropped way back in September 2016. But G-Money wasn't done there. The following month, he would continue to diss Youngboy, dropping yet another diss song, this time in a remix to Bodak Yellow, calling Youngboy a fake and warning him not to mess with TBG, as well as saying that Youngboy is hating on G over a woman and that he used to be TBG but switched up on the crew. G would also shade Youngboy for signing to a label, saying that by contrast, he got to where he was without a deal, as well as warning that he would be sending shooters to Youngboy's home. He would reference the NBA crew, saying that he thinks he's Steph Curry, referring to a player in the actual NBA known for his accurate shooting, and G would end the song saying that somebody tried to kill him but failed and got killed in return. It would seem for a while that Youngboy just wasn't responding, but G-Money would continue to go at Youngboy and the NBA crew any chance he got. In a September Instagram live session, he would continue throwing shade at Youngboy, mentioning that a Baton Rouge rapper got hot and left everyone behind, and saying that Youngboy is scared of him and his gang.
These tell rappers in Baton Rouge be hating anyway, you hear me? They don't be sticking together down here. So what I look like getting a when you do this and do that and do that, you ain't sticking with you. All these down here, man. You hear me? Most of these head of it, man. You sit, put your head down, nigga. And I can be by myself, you can be with 1,000, man. Yeah, for real. Yeah. If you ain't with us, you can't hang with my gang. And that's what God. Ain't no banging with the gang. I ain't tripping on no dissing on none of that, you hear me? It's all good. But just remember,
was there for me. I ain't never do no fake hating that like that.
G-Money would go on to diss Youngboy's whole family and say that he's TBG until he dies.
Like on everything I love, man. You, your mama, your brother, your cousin, your auntie, your uncle, whoever. Yeah, TBG Gorilla Gang, TBG till I die.
G would also claim to be respected on Youngboy's native Chippewa Street, saying that he pulled up with his gun and that people had tried to protect Youngboy.
I ran on Chippewa, man. You heard? I respect it out there. You know what I'm saying? I pulled up out there with a 38 when the whole chopper trying to save him. But I ain't gonna speak on it. You hear me? Way throwback. You hear me? 13, you know. 14, 15, 16. You know, throwback. Damn, man, who got a problem with Young around here? Now Young on the other side. Ain't crazy?
He would also diss Youngboy's team, saying that everybody in TBG is a boss.
How you be all how you a boss and he got a CEO and all this shit, you hear me? You know, yeah, the bullshit, they got run them. Don't nobody run nobody over here. Everybody bosses. Yeah, nothing but bosses over here. Be looking at because they got money, man. Y'all think real? Make no real, man.
G-Money would even claim that Youngboy got robbed and stripped and didn't retaliate, with his goons saying Youngboy won't survive the beef with him.
Thank you, you ain't do nothing about it. That boy stripped. You just stripped and you ain't do nothing about it. So how you think you can tell me something? How you think you can go against me? How you think you can do that? You won't survive. Come on.
Clearly, this was a very personal beef aimed at Youngboy and his crew. And at this point, both sides have made outright threats, declaring their intentions to kill their opposition. Now, it's been speculated that Youngboy's manager, Big Dump, might have had something to do with potentially putting a price on G-Money's head. And in September, G-Money would seemingly be posting disses to Youngboy on social media, all while giving clues as to his own exact location. In one video, G-Money, standing outside, would claim that Youngboy started rapping and became a killer after he got a record deal.
Say, Lil, when you know you ain't living like that, man, you get a deal and you done turn to a killer. When you start doing all that, man, you know you ain't cut like that, man. You know TBG been your muscle, boy. And the same you talking about, usually don't live in jail, wherever they at, man. That's the thing you ought to move on the city, man. Yeah, you remember Will? Yeah, Will's out there. And you remember you ran out that stove, man. You know what's happening with us, man. You hear me, real? And I'm living out shit, you hear me? Everything you got with a deal, I got with all the deal, man. You hear me? You know, 30 plus on my with no deal. Yeah, for real. Driving that $100,000 coupe, man. Yeah, with no deal, boy. You better stop playing and stay in your place, son.
If you watch that clip carefully, you can see a window with white bars and black shutters beside it, with the building itself having red brickwork and a black security door. In this clip, G-Money is standing in front of a recording studio at the 1900 block of Dallas Drive that TBG were known to record at. This studio was also featured prominently in the music video for G-Money and Boulevard Quick's song, Set Trippin'. And this studio is the exact location where G-Money would unfortunately lose his life. On the 10th of September 2017, G-Money would be seen on Instagram at his usual recording studio working on music, seemingly recording a Youngboy diss song with lyrics where he says that your favorite rapper is a liar.
Favorite rapper, man.
At around 1:30 a.m., G-Money would be found shot in front of that very recording studio that he recently went live at. Fat Chapo, who was with him at the time of the shooting, said that G-Money was caught off guard by a shooter as he walked out of the studio.
I was the first at the door. I'm the one called for help. G walked out that door by himself. I told him before he walked out the door, like, he walked out the door on his own. And they start shooting. When they start shooting, I really didn't know what was going on because I heard a boom, but the music was playing, so it was kind of muffled. When as soon as the shooting stopped, I ran out the door. Nobody was still, I still never saw nobody. And I saw G laying right there on the ground. And once I seen him, all I could do was call 911. You know, try to get help.
Once police arrived, officers would be seen in the dark, taping off the scene and doing forensic work. And G-Money would end up leaving the scene in a coroner's van, just like the one that he had showed in his music video Industry, where he said that he would put his ops on the news. And the following morning, the news would indeed report on this tragic killing.
Baton Rouge police are looking into a deadly shooting that claimed the life of a local rapper. Police say someone shot and killed 22-year-old Garrett Burton on Dallas Street around 1:20 last night. Burton performed under the name G Money. Right now, police have not named any suspects or motive. Help police or have any tips to report them anonymously to Crime Stoppers.
One of G Money's closest friends and fellow TBG affiliate rapper Fredo Bang, in a DJ Small Eyes interview, would recount breaking down in jail when he heard the news of G's death.
I just broke down in tears, like you know how a baby cried, you know how a baby cried this year. I just sat there locked up.
Scotty Kane would also react to G Money's death, even telling followers that he was getting DMs telling him that he would be killed next.
Man, I wake up every day, man. My partner got killed. Oh, like that, son. Then it's sad to say, man. Cause I'm not even 25 yet. Like, come on, man. Like, it ain't that serious, son. Before I let you take me, dog, I'm slinging this. Whoever, whatever, and I don't care who love who, I'm going my move. Get the from my DM talking about I'm next and all that. Man, I ain't worried about none of that. I ain't worried about none of that. Oh, man. When it's my time, regardless, but I ain't worried about none of that. Better stop playing with kill y'all, so I do not play by my life at all. I'm gonna step, yeah. I don't give I'm gonna die about it for real,
The day after G Money was killed, it seemed that fans would attend the scene of the murder, filming the location, and peculiarly finding a pillow on the ground. The presence of a bloody pillow at the murder scene would end up going viral, sparking a conspiracy theory that G Money's killers threw a pillow on him after the assassination and told him to go to sleep, with these rumors being further fueled by Youngboy lyrics that came out later, like the song Step On, where he says, "Lay your bed, I throw the pillow, police after all my people." And even in his recent single Bitch Let's Do It, where he rapped that his crew will creep up on their ops and lay their heads on a pillow, with Youngboy even doing an impression of a dying G Money laying on a pillow in the music video. However, for the record, this is just a conspiracy theory, and some of the more sensible Youngboy fans would work out that this pillow was actually used by emergency medical staff that had attended the scene. But setting aside those rumors, once this went down, all eyes were on the NBA crew, but it would take years before the authorities were able to identify any of the people involved. DeAndre Fields, aka Lil Pat, or NBA Pat, actually the brother of NBA Ben 10, aka Ben Fields, who also got arrested for being in the car with Youngboy in that same incident after Boozilla's death, where Youngboy ended up getting the 10-year suspended sentence for. Now, Pat was eventually arrested on second-degree murder charges in connection with the murder of G Money, ultimately being bailed around June 2019.
A lot of you are reacting tonight to the arrest of this man, DeAndre Fields. Baton Rouge police say they arrested him years after the shooting death of a local rapper, Garrett Burton. Back in 2017, Burton went by the name of G Money. He was found shot to death in the parking lot on Dallas Drive there. Police arrested DeAndre Fields for second-degree murder.
And initially, Pat would plead not guilty, but some interesting information would eventually be revealed to the police when they interviewed him after the shooting. He actually told police that he had left Baton Rouge with his mother and son, fleeing to nearby New Roads about 40 minutes away from Baton Rouge after G Money was murdered. As well as this, when asked about his whereabouts on the night of September the 10th, 2017, Lil Pat claimed that he drove to Hammond to get gas. When detectives later obtained his phone records, this claim was proven to be false, as his records revealed that he was actually in Baton Rouge on the night of G Money's death. But perhaps the most shocking piece of information that Lil Pat shared with the police, which I can imagine was a huge driving force behind his indictment, is the following. After police asked Pat who among his friends would shoot people for the NBA group, he replied, "To be honest, me." Now, it's worth adding that in Youngboy's very first album, Life Before Fame, all the way back in 2015, he basically admits that he can call on Pat to carry out what needs to be carried out in the streets on 2 occasions. Firstly, in the song NBA, and secondly, in the song I Know. Ultimately, Pat would end up pleading out on greatly reduced charges of accessory after the fact of murder and ultimately receiving a sentence of 5 years. Now, interestingly, Pat would go back and forth with the judge during his sentencing, saying that he is taking the deal, but he is 100% innocent. And interestingly, close friend of G Money, TBG rapper Fredo Bang, would later claim in numerous interviews that he did not believe Pat to be G's killer either.
Do you know the guy that's being charged? You said that you didn't think the guy
that they're charging the murderer actually did it.
G-Money's own mother would also post on social media saying they still haven't found the shooter of her son, and they're still looking. Whether or not you believe NBA Pat when he says that he had nothing to do with the incident, what is clear is that the NBA crew, and Youngboy specifically, would have the most to gain from G-Money being no longer. And going forward, Youngboy and other NBA members would reference what happened to G-Money in numerous songs and videos. The month after G-Money's murder, Youngboy dropped his 10th project, Ain't Too Long, on October the 7th, 2017. This included a number of references to the G-Money situation. Firstly, in the murder anthem Red Rum, where Youngboy claims that he just raised the murder rate in his city. And then, in the song Poor One, Youngboy seems to be talking directly to G-Money throughout the song, alluding to the time when they had a friendship that was like a brotherhood before G-Money betrayed Youngboy's trust by sleeping with his sister and boasting about it online. In the same song, and in the same monologue directed at G-Money, Youngboy reveals that G-Money introduced him to Them Boys, who he didn't like for nothing. Them Boys most likely being a reference to TBG. Before paying homage to his own fallen friends Boozilla and Lil Dave, Youngboy would seemingly suggest that G-Money had blamed him for drugs that went missing, which caused the tension between Youngboy and his cousin Boozilla. In another song on the project, titled War With Us, Youngboy talks about the sorry state of affairs in Baton Rouge, saying that one particular week he saw 7 murders and that there is no help in his city. This was a bold lyric that painted a picture of a city completely out of control. The war in the Baton Rouge rap scene had gotten deadly, and now one of the most promising artists in that city was in the grave. With Youngboy free of his main competition, going on to dominate the scene, releasing song after song and mixtape after mixtape, telling heartfelt tales of his first-hand experiences surviving in the trenches of Baton Rouge. But the biggest question remained: was Youngboy just a rapper making music about the violent war taking place in his city, or was he really the murder man, running his rap career like a gang kingpin and using his NBA crew as muscle to stop anyone who dared to get in their way? Youngboy's run from 2015 to the end of 2017 was one of a kind. He dropped 8 solo mixtapes and 1 joint one with Moneybagg Yo, giving fans more music in his formative years than some artists deliver in their entire careers. And this generosity with his art was rewarded by a cult following of loyal fans who fell in love with the music and would always show up for him from here on out. 3 songs on the Billboard Hot 100 and 3 projects on Billboard's 200 albums charts. Youngboy was flourishing in the music industry since signing his monster 5-album, $2 million deal with Atlantic. But Youngboy was making murder music all about violence and killing. And before we go any further, I just want to address something. In Youngboy's songs from 2017 and in numerous tracks that came later in his career, he seemingly claims to have 7 bodies. And despite being considered a mainstream artist making music for respected record labels, the content of his music and his own statements in these songs has led to intense speculation over whether or not Youngboy has in fact personally killed anyone, or more specifically, more than 7 people, as he claims in many of his songs, with many wondering exactly who these people he claimed to have killed might have been. This is not dissimilar to all of the speculation that has surrounded Chicago drill rapper King Von, who was rumored to have killed at least 7 people, with his name being connected to as many as 11 murders, with an endless collection of tweets and lyrics which saw King Von himself seemingly confessing to playing a role in these specific murders. I personally believe that King Von did indeed kill at least 7 people, and I covered this extensively in my recent video, King Von, Rap's First Serial Killer. But when it comes to Youngboy, it's much harder to say. After the alleged killer of G-Money was revealed to have been an affiliate of the NBA crew, many people thought Youngboy had directly paid for this hit. Youngboy has released lyrics before and after G-Money's death, suggesting that he was willing to engage in murder for hire, like the track Ride On 'Em, and years later on his Richest Op album, rapping on the song Dirty Thug that he just has to pay the fee for his shooters to leave people dead in the street. Also on the track Bitch Let's Do It, where Youngboy claimed that his gang would creep up and put his ops' heads on pillows. He would also rap that he used his dollars to send hits through the city, and that when this worked, he went on to go crazy with bodies. Also on the track Slimes Go Where I Go, Youngboy opens his verse confessing that he believes he could get 100 years in jail for the murders he's been involved in. As his career has gone on, more and more fans have theorized as to whether or not Youngboy has killed, or whether he has at least had people killed. There's even a fan theory that Youngboy has a child for every person he kills. A theory partly supported by lyrics on a leaked song that didn't end up on the album top, but was circulating in the days leading up to its release. A song apparently titled Soul Stealer, where Youngboy raps that he has guns with bodies on them and that he's part of a group that he had to kill to join. Even ending the song saying that he's 7 up, but he needs 3 more, and saying that he needs 10 bodies, 10 hats, and 10 mama baby souls. which if you consider the fact that he apparently has 10 or 11 kids at this point, could very well hold water. However, some of the conspiracy theories on exactly who Youngboy may be referring to when he says he has over 7 bodies do seem like a bit of a stretch. The first person Youngboy is rumored to have killed or had killed was one of the killers of Youngboy's childhood friend Lil Dave, with this speculation being based off a single Youngboy lyric where he appeared to suggest that he paid for vengeance for Dave after he begun making large sums of money. Years later, on the track F the Industry Part 2 on his album Richest Op, Youngboy would drop a lyric seemingly confessing to having had to kill somebody at age 16, but it's unclear who this may have been. But on the same song, Youngboy would also drop a menacing lyric saying that he witnessed somebody beating his mother as a child and that he killed them when he grew up. Whether or not you believe that Youngboy would be capable of killing somebody, you can't deny the fact that after his cousin Boozilla got killed, he caught a double attempted murder charge whilst personally trying to avenge his cousin. However, as the judge acknowledged, nobody actually did die in this case. G-Money, however, was less lucky, being gunned down after trading public death threats with Youngboy. And while the actual shooters of G-Money were never found, the conviction of a prominent NBA member on accessory charges firmly pointed the finger at the NBA camp. The next alleged killing is a rumor that's heavily debated amongst Youngboy fans.
Yeah.
An unreleased Youngboy
That's
song
awesome.
called Money Man has been circulating on YouTube, Reddit, and SoundCloud for a
That's
number of
awesome.
years. The song isn't listed on lyric breakdown sites like Genius.com, but the track itself
That's
does include
awesome.
some outrageous lyrics that have gone viral numerous times on Reddit. Particularly, lyrics that seem to suggest that Youngboy killed a rival gang member's girlfriend in retaliation for his grandmother's house being shot up. This all relates to a feud with another set of Baton Rouge street hitters called TMH, or Too Many Hitters. The story goes that somebody from TMH shot up Youngboy's grandmother's house. TMH32 would later deny this shooting in lyrics on his song FAN, but according to lyrics from Youngboy's song Money Man, another person from TMH by the name of Hammer was actually targeted in a shooting, which unfortunately ended up claiming the life of his girlfriend. Now,